Any problems about?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Okay, fine, do.
Ma'am.
Yes, Saban.
Ma'am, send it.
Okay, send it.
Send it.
Send it.
Sure. Done.
Okay, Subhan, I received your question, homework. Is there anything which is left till now in the last chapter? All the questions were complete.
Yeah.
Other than that, what have you done with your algebraic expressions chapters, last exercise?
But which question? Like, like I checked it last time. I think I know.
Okay, if it's unable to, if you were unable to find out which questions were left, I'll tell you, okay, after the class. Okay.
Yes, ma'am. No, I wrote to her. I have to do from 4 or 5 parts from every question.
Who said?
No,
I
ma'am,
said.
I just didn't do 4 to 5. No, ma'am, I only wrote there. I just wrote only 4 to 5.
So that means the thing is not complete, right?
No, I will send you.
Yes. Other than that, we are going to start with a new chapter, that is Introduction to Graphs. Okay. We have studied data handling, right? In our previous classes, we have studied data handling. In that only we have seen many type of graphs that were your bar graphs, double bar graphs. We have seen the pie charts, right? Here we are just going to revise it and will come directly to the exercises as we have discussed the things in detail in the earlier classes. Okay, that chapter is not coming. This chapter is coming. In this chapter, there is no brief discussion for the graphs as we have done for the pie charts, that how to
Only
make the pie
ma'am,
chart,
like
right?
linear graph and non-linear.
Yes. So we have which type of graphs? Earlier also we have seen that we have bar graphs. In the same category, we have a double bar graph. Right. We have a double bar graph. Okay. In another thing, we have your histogram, right? Which is similar to the bar graphs. There are only differences that these are used in the class intervals. Means the adjoining bars are there, whereas in case of in case of your bar graph, there is the gap between the bars, right? Remember or not?
Yeah, ma'am.
After that, we have pie graphs. Pie graphs are used when there is a when the thing is telling about the portion of from the whole thing, right? What is it? That a circle has been divided into how many parts? There can be any n number of parts depending upon the situation. So if there is a only circle, this is a whole. Whereas if I have divided it into the parts, what is this? This has been your partial, your fractions. Okay, the parts. So these segments are related to the your parts of the depending upon the condition, whereas the whole circle is what? The whole condition. If I'm asking you that 100% population, that is your circle, among which 50% watches TV, then one segment of this is the part. Okay. Then we have line graphs. In case of line graph, we just do not do anything. We point them and just join them. Okay, as per the condition, we just point the thing and we join it.
Ma'am, like on Thursday only I did one.
Okay, after that we have a linear graph. Okay, what happens in a linear graph? Linear and line graphs are very much same. For example, I gave you few points, that is your
graph are like
yes,
straight line.
they are in a straight line. Either this, either this, either this. Okay, whereas there is no such condition for the line graph. There should be only line in the line graph, whereas in case of linear graph, there is a line which is on which the points lie. Means there is a straight line on which on which all the points should lie. Okay, Subhan?
Yeah.
Okay, then we have already discussed that what do we if I tell you that this is a data. This is a data for marks. What is this? These are number of students, whereas this is what? This is a marks. if I say that 10 students got 20, even leave it, these are number of subjects. If I ask you that in Hindi, what happens? People got 20. In science, people got how much? People got 10. In English, people got how much? People got 12. How will you plot a graph? Just show me how will you plot a graph for this data? Any of the
Ma'am,
graph?
like first in the y-axis, I have to write the marks obtained.
Why only on the y-axis? Why can't I write the marks on x-axis?
Because it's a rule.
What rule? X-axis will always contain the coordinates or the points which are independent. Whereas on y-axis, what will come? The dependent factor. Okay, this will have the dependent factor, whereas the x-axis will have independent factor. The number of students are not dependent about
X
are
will
not
have
depending upon the
Hindi,
marks.
science, the names like that.
Yes, so I was saying that number of students are not depending upon the marks, but marks are getting dependent upon the number of students, or sorry, number of subjects, right? So your subjects will come over here, whereas your marks will come over here. Was that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Taking another data of number of students and how much marks they got.
So I have to do this in my bar graph book or like any other?
For tuition, there is no condition, however you like, okay? And for your school matter, your school will tell you. Number of students, 2468. This is just an arbitrary example, whereas the marks got by 2 students were 100. This were 50, 6 students got 60 marks, 8 students got 40 marks. Okay, Soban, this is 40. Now, if I am going to draw a line graph, okay, what will I do? Number of students will come where?
Ma'am, on the y-axis.
Number of students. Always remember that
number of students will come in x-axis.
Right.
Y-axis,
Okay.
like marks.
In case of data handling only, I have told you that how will you take the intervals? You will take regular intervals. If it's 0 to 2, then you will have an interval of 2 in all the cases. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10.
6, 8. It will be also, ma'am, we have to do like 20, 10 or 26.
Right, I am taking 20, 40, 60, 80, 100. Okay, so 2 students got how much marks? 100 marks. 4 students got 50 marks. That will come in between 40 and 50. 6 students got 60 marks, whereas 8 students got 40 marks, right? So what is this? Now you will point the things over here. How in a bracket we'll have an x coordinate whereas y coordinate. What are coordinates? The points. Whatever is on x-axis, we'll write it. Which point is this? This is for 2 for x-axis. This is 100 for y-axis. Right or wrong, Sophan? So what will we, how will we point it? How will we write the coordinates? This is 2, whereas y at position of y will 100. The bracket will always contain the x point first and the y points next. These points are called what? These points are called as coordinates. Okay, coordinates. Okay, if I'll ask you to write the coordinates, what will you do? Take a bracket up, you have to write the coordinate for this point, then take a bracket x and y, and means this thing is not necessary.
To write the scale too.
Sorry?
Mom, we have to write the scale also.
What do you mean by scale? These points only, right? Okay. So in this bracket, what will you do? You'll do the point x will be written as 2 and 100. If I ask you to write about this point, if I ask you to write coordinate for this point, how will you write?
Ma'am, x, y. And then
that was just an example to tell you that in which format you will have to write, or through which position you have to write. Okay. Otherwise, you will use this thing. Yes. 4 and
50.
4 and 50. So these are what? These are called what, Subhan?
Coordinates.
Right. These are called coordinates. Now in coordinates also, what do we have? We have a x coordinate. In this case, that was 4. We have a y coordinate. In this case, this was 50. Right or wrong, Sopan?
Yeah, ma'am.
X coordinate is called abscissa, whereas y coordinate is called ordinate. Is that clear to you?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, now come to the scaling. What were you telling about the scaling? What scale is present in the graph? Saban? What happened,
Hello,
Subhan?
ma'am. Ma'am, I don't know. Internet was not working properly. Sorry.
Okay. So we were talking about the graphs. Okay. Right now we have discussed about the coordinates. What are coordinates? The x point and the y point. If I talk to you about x coordinate, that is called abscissa. Whereas if I talk about y coordinate, it is called ordinate. Then you were talking about scale. Scale is equals to what? If I talk about this your x-axis scale is how much? One point is equals to two intervals, or one interval is equals to 2 points. Whereas in this, 1 point is equals to 10 units, right? If I talk about this, then 1 point is equals to 10 units, right or wrong?
Yeah, ma'am. Yes.
Then earlier also we have discussed this thing that if I am drawing a graph and it is quite clear that we have to make it as uniform with a uniform intervals, right? If we are taking the gap of 2, we'll start with the gap of 2. But if in case this is the 0, if I start over here with 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and here if I took as 30 and then 50, 70, 80, right? Do you think these are the equal intervals? If I talk to you about from 0 to 30 and later on, are these the uniform intervals? Yes or no?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so what do? We will make a zigzag line, right? This zigzag line is showing what? That few points are not being represented on the scale. We use it when we have a data like that. Firstly, it is going to start from 100, and after that we have the data directly reaches to 500. There is no need to plot such a lengthy graph. What will we do? We just directly make the zigzag line in front of the origin, and what will we do? We'll make the intervals as per the required condition. This zigzag line is called squiggle. What does it called as? It is called as squiggle. Is that clear to you? And other than that, take the previous example. What is this? This is 0, right? This is also 0 and this is also 0. So what is the coordinate of this? This point will have the coordinate of 0 and 0. X point is also 0, y point is also 0. Right or wrong, Subhan? Yes or no?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay. So this point is called what? Origin. What is origin? Origin is a point where x-axis is also, your x coordinate is also 0, whereas y coordinate is also 0. Is that clear to you? So we
Yeah, ma'am.
have discussed few things today that were your types of graph. We have studied about histogram, your pie chart or pie graph, line graph,
Yeah. Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
linear graph,
Yes, ma'am.
bar graph. In bar graph only, we know that there is a double bar graph also, right? In the
Yeah.
theory of graph, we have seen that what are coordinates, how do we scale the
Yes.
graph, then we have the origin, we have squiggle line, whereas we have seen the coordinates to be
Ma'am.
x point and y point. Your x coordinate is called what? It is called abscissa, whereas
Ma'am,
your
are you
y coordinate.
writing something?
Yes, I am writing.
Ma'am, are you writing something?
Yes, Sobhan, I was writing.
I can't see it, ma'am.
Now,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I can see it. I can see it.
x-axis, your
Coordinate, scale, origin.
right. X coordinates is called abscissa, whereas your y coordinate is called what? Y coordinate
Ordinate.
is called your
Ordinate.
ordinate, right? If you need to
Ordinate.
write
Yep.
these things, you may. You may write if you want to
Okay,
write it.
ma'am. I will write it. Ma'am, like, which thing? Oh, this one.
Firstly, name your chapter.
So,
Give the heading of your chapter. After that, put the heading type of graph. Write it as histogram, pie graph, line graph, linear graph, bar graph, in which we have a double bar graph. Write it as quickly as you can, okay?
Yeah. From the chapter name.
Okay, now give a heading of type of graphs, in
So,
which we have histogram, pie graph, line graph, linear graph, bar graph, double bar graph. We have already discussed this thing in detail in our earlier chapter, that was data
yes.
handling.
Yeah.
And if it's done, then write coordinates
No,
in
what
bracket. Okay. Yes, so when it's done, is it done? Type of graph?
Yeah, yeah,
All the graphs have been written?
yeah.
Okay, then come to the heading of coordinates. Give a heading coordinates. In that, write the points of x-axis and y-axis are called coordinates. The points of x-axis and y-axis are called coordinates. I hope it's done.
Yeah, yeah.
Till where?
Ma'am, I did till the point of x-axis and y-axis are known as coordinates.
Right. After that, in bracket, write x comma y.
Why?
Like this. Okay.
Yeah.
And after that, write x point is called x point slash x coordinate is called abscissa. Even remove the word of point, just write it x coordinate is called abscissa, whereas y coordinate is called ordinate.
No, wait.
Okay. If it's done, then write the scaling should be of uniform interval.
No, not that.
Okay.
Can you give me the spelling of abscissa?
Done?
Yeah, yeah,
Whereas
done.
y coordinates are called ordinate. Whereas,
And I wrote it as a point. I wrote it.
okay, fine.
Y
After that,
coordinate is
write,
known as coordinate.
okay, fine. After that, write the scaling on the graph should be, the scaling on the graph should be of uniform interval. Uniform means regular, okay? If it's 2
Yeah.
at the first point, there should be 4 at the next point.
Ma'am, can you repeat the scaling in the graph?
Should be of
Yes, ma'am.
uniform interval.
Okay.
After that, give a heading of origin and write
Yes, ma'am. Come on, wait, ma'am. Wait, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay.
the point at which x coordinate is 0, whereas y coordinate is also 0. Origin is a point.
Ma'am, the point at which x
Coordinate is 0, whereas y coordinate is also 0. Full stop in bracket, write 0, 0 and close the
Ma'am, wait.
bracket. Okay.
Then 0, 0, right, ma'am?
Yes,
In
right.
bracket.
Yes. That means what is origin, Subhan? Origin is your this point. This. The starting
middle.
point of the graph, right? This is origin, where x is also 0, y is also 0. Okay, is that clear to you? Is it visible to you? I have changed this. I have changed the page.
Ma'am, I can check, but I'm lagging.
Are you able to see the graph?
Yeah, ma'am, I can see, but a little bit your voice is lagging.
My voice is lagging. I do not think this time I have a problem. Okay,
No,
but
ma'am,
it's
I am
audible.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, ma'am, yeah.
So we are done with coordinates, we are done with scale, we are done with origin. Now come to the squiggle. Give a heading as
Ma'am, did
squiggle.
I write? Yeah. Yeah, ma'am, wait. Yes, ma'am.
A zigzag line, a zigzag line that shows few points are not included. Okay. A zigzag line that shows few points are not included.
Yes, ma'am.
Just wait a second. You can make this diagram which is visible on the screen. Is there any?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, make it. And when you are done, just inform me. We'll start with the exercises. I hope you will make it yourself, Subhan.
Okay, ma'am, yeah.
Okay, just try to make it.
Yeah, ma'am, wait, ma'am. Now or like I to do it as work?
Right now, right now.
Okay.
Is it done, Subhan?
Almost. I'm done.
Okay, just wait a second. Where is the exam?
Over here.
Okay, fine. Make it more zigzag. It is not quite visible.
Okay. Now.
Yes, fine.
Wait, is the question for
Yes, you may start drawing this. One
Oh,
second, let me
okay.
draw first.
No, no.
Okay, you may start, Subhan.
Oh, okay.
Or else, Subhan, this will take time. I'm directly asking you questions. Okay. Just you from the graph tell me that what would be the answer for the same. This graph is showing the temperature of a
Okay.
patient in a hospital. Okay, a patient has been admitted in a hospital. They have took their temperature, and this graph is showing that at what time the temperature is what for the patient. Okay, all these things are in your time: AM, AM, PM, 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 PM. Okay, whereas your temperature has been given in degrees Celsius. Okay. Okay. So the first question is, what was the patient's temperature at 1 p.m.?
Actually, 12 is noon.
Sorry?
12 is a noon. I think my 12 is a noon. Because AM, AM, AM.
PM. You leave that thing, you just come over here. That what is the temperature of the patient at 1 p.m.?
And at 1 p.m. it's like 36
1 second.
point.
At 1 p.m. it is what?
How much? 37. It's 37.
At 1 p.m. it's 30. No, it's that point is between 36 and 37. The point is in between 36
So,
and
36.5. 36.5.
Fine.
36.5.
1 second, just. Okay.
Once we get it,
Yes. Give it a heading as exercise number 15.1. Question number 1, first part.
I give it. Done.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, I'm done.
Okay,
Done.
question number 1, first part. The graph is already given in the book.
Yeah.
Okay. Question number 1 was,
Okay.
what was the patient's temperature at 1 p.m.? So it was how much? It was in between 36 and 37. So you said what? It was how much?
No, but 36.5.
Okay, when was the patient's temperature? 38.5. When was the patient's temperature? Yes.
Ma'am, I think at 11 or 12.
Okay, it would be better if I'll just name them, okay? It is your 35.5. This is your in between 36 and 37. This is your 39. This is your in between 38 and 39. Then we have in between 36 and 37. This one is also in between 36 and 37. This is
Ma'am, the
37.
answer is 12 p.m. 12 p.m.
So what was my question? My question was that when was it? 38.5. So you are saying at how much time?
38.5.
Okay, there is a temp.
12.
Right.
12 p.m. 12 p.m.
Okay, fine. After that, what do we have? We have it. The question is that when does the patient has the same temperature twice? Okay. At one time the temperature was noted, it was same as it was recorded the second time. So how much at how much temperature and at how much timings these were the same?
Ma'am, 1 and 2 or 10 and 1? Ma'am, 1 and 2, 1 and 2.
Okay. Then we have
Because
what was
10
the
is also at the same height.
yes, but it is asking about only two temperatures. Okay.
So,
1 second, Soban. On 10 it was 36. Okay. On 10 it is 36. Fine.
oh, okay.
Then we have what was the temperature at 130?
130
Yes.
will be like 36.5 only, ma'am, like, I think.
What will you do? How?
Ma'am, because 2 p.m. also like 36.5 only, right?
So,
So in that whole period, I think.
right. Then we have during which periods did the patient's temperature showed an upward trend? When is it going upward?
Ma'am, I think 11.
11. When?
11 a.m. Yeah, ma'am, 10 to 11. 10 to 11.
10 to 11 it's going upwards. Okay. Whereas, but it is
Yeah.
also coming downwards. After that, after your 10 to 11, what would be the answer?
Ma'am, I think 3 p.m.
How much?
2 3 p.m.
Yes, it's going upward then after 2 3 p.m. There are say similar questions in your
Ma'am,
exercise
so
number
you have to write.
15.1, right? There are
Ma'am, so I
similar.
have to write both, right? 10 to 2, 10 to 11
Better to
and
write 2 to 3.
2 to
Better to
3.
write 2 to 3 as after your 10 and 11 it's coming
Ma'am,
down.
wait, I'm not writing the answer. I'm
Okay,
not
right.
writing the answer.
Okay, you may write and inform me when you are done. You want me to repeat the question or you remember them?
Ma'am, I remember.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am, done.
Is it done?
Yeah, ma'am, yeah, ma'am.
There are
Ma'am,
similar
so like
questions.
this question
Yes.
coming in the. Okay, ma'am, okay.
Either these type of questions will
Um,
come or your condition would be given, you will have to make the graph. Okay, only two things will come. Either the graph would be given and you have to
ma'am,
answer
like
the
making the
questions.
graph will not come.
Who said?
Making the graph will not come.
Who said?
Because ma'am, it's like only tick.
So you can
You have
take
to
the
only
graph
tick the
also
answer.
if they would have given you different graphs and will ask you that. Which graph is correct?
Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So what have you written for this? You will write all the points in which the upward trend is analyzed.
Yeah.
Just a second, Sopan. Okay, sorry. After that, what were we having? We have studied about abscissa. We have studied about coordinates, right? Now, what could happen? I can give you the points, and you have to do what? You might have to draw the graph. Okay, what can I say you? I'll say you that you have to draw a linear graph. What will you do in the linear graph? You will give the points and will join the lines. Okay, if I give you that this is a point and the coordinates are 2, 5, B 6, 8, C 8, 11, D 10,
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
40. Yes, Oban, I can hear you. Kindly speak.
Ma'am, can you repeat what were you saying? Ma'am,
Wasn't the thing visible on your screen?
ma'am, it's visible, but like what I have to do?
I am giving you the coordinates. Okay, I am giving you the coordinates. What you have to do, you have to draw a line graph. Understood?
Line graph, okay.
Okay, just try it. If you will not be able to do, I'll try. I'll tell you.
Okay, no. Oh.
Okay.
What the numbers are there? Like PM or something?
Sorry. Sorry. Can you repeat your question?
Ma'am, like, ma'am, no, ma'am, like I was asking, like, first the y-axis things are there.
What
Then
does
the
this thing mean?
x-axis.
No. I have
Coordinates.
already
These are
said
the
you that.
coordinates.
Yes, what are coordinates? We have already discussed they are x
Ma'am,
and
like,
y point, and they are
ma'am,
written in which format
yes,
and which style. First, x coordinate would be written, after that, y coordinate is written. This is the rule, okay? This is the rule that we have to first write the x coordinate. After that, in the same bracket, we write the y coordinate. So, if we see the question, then 2 is what? X coordinate or y coordinate, Saban?
ma'am, at
And y is x coordinate or y coordinate?
ma'am, it's like y coordinate.
It is y
What?
coordinate. Now what will you do?
Yes, ma'am.
Now what will you do?
But like x coordinates are less than like y coordinates.
So does they
Like
have
how
an
is it?
issue?
No issues. No issues.
Okay.
I can
We do
draw
not
it.
have to compare x and y coordinates. It could be there, x could be large, y
Um,
could be large. There is no such rule that x have to be less or y have to be less or vice versa. Okay?
okay.
Do.
Okay.
Do. What you have to do, you have to make a line graph, okay? Just try it once. So in the first point, in case of A, abscissa is how much, Subhan? In the A point, if we talk about the A point, what is the abscissa?
Ma'am, it's 2.
Okay, fine. Do your question.
Ma'am, the ordinate is 5.
Right. Inform me when you are done.
I'm gonna draw it roughly like
Yes, you may. I just want to see that how will you draw. Do not make it very much rough. Is it done?
No,
Have you started with the graph?
yeah, I'm just starting it. No, but like here I have to like go.
Repeat. Ask what do you want to ask?
Not much like. Can I do it like only 5 in the y-axis? Can I only write 5, 8, 11, and 14? Or I have to write it?
What do you think? We have already discussed the scaling should be of regular interval is 5, 8, 11. Okay, fine, fine. Before that, what will you do? If
I
you
think
want,
I have to like squiggle the y-axis.
sorry, what, may you repeat?
I'm
Don't,
like it will be a squiggle.
yes, correct. Do it. Is it done, Soman?
I have to make a line graph, right?
Yes, you have to make a line graph and then you have to decide that is that line being a linear graph or not.
Okay.
Do it first, Soman.
Yeah, I'm almost done. Just writing the coordinates. It's not a linear graph. Wait,
It's not a linear graph, okay? Sure.
oh, wait, oh. Yeah, I'm done.
Yes, kindly show. Okay, fine. It's not a linear graph.
I'm in the exam. Some boys will no.
In exam, what is going to happen?
No, no, we'll do in the graph book, right? So the mistake will not happen.
Could you just repeat what you have just said?
No, I was going to just when like boys will like write it very near and like they tell that that's not a linear graph or like that's but we will do in a graph.
Okay, you have to use a graph notebook in your exam. I hope this was
Yeah.
what you meant to say. Okay. So
Yeah,
I
ma'am.
hope that if the coordinates are given, you will be able to make the graph, Subhan.
Yeah.
So in exercise number 15.2, your first question is to make, in the first question, coordinates are given and the question is saying that you have to draw a linear graph. Okay. What will you do in a linear graph? You will first mark the coordinate, and since the question itself is saying to draw the linear graph, so the coordinates would be given in a manner that when you join the points by a line, they'll come or they'll fall in the same line, okay, and will form a linear graph. Okay, is that clear to you? In second question, what is given? A graph is given and you have to just answer the few questions as we have done in exercise number 15.1. Okay, for example, I'm just taking an example. If this is your origin, this is your 2, this is your 4, this is your 6, this is your 8, this is your 2, this is your 4, this is your 6, this is also your 8. And these are your points.
Ma'am,
Yes.
15.2.
No.
Is only like this.
It's not it's not 15.2. I am just taking an arbitrary question. Okay, if this is your graph. One second. Let me complete. If this is your ABCD and I ask you that write the coordinates for point A, what will you write, Subhan?
Ma'am, I will try.
This is point A. Point A.
Ma'am, 2 and 2.
First 2 is for which axis?
Ma'am, X.
What will you write the coordinates for D point?
Ma'am, it will be 8, 8.
8, 8. First 8 for which axis? Second 8 for which axis?
First one is for X, second one for the Y.
So I hope you understood that if a graph is given and the question is asking to find out your coordinates, you will be able to tell if the points are placed on the graph. So this is your this type of the question is the question number 2, whereas question number 3 also has the graph and they'll ask you the question based upon it. Is that clear to you? Exercise number 15.1 and exercise number 15.2 is your homework. I will be needing it tomorrow. Is that clear to you?
15.1 and 15.2.
Yes. 15.1 has all the graphs. You have to just answer the questions as we have done in the patient's case, whereas in exercise number 15.2, I have just told you that which type of questions are there. Is that clear to you or not? Okay. Now applications of graph. Okay. What do you mean by applications? That where is your graph being used? If I give you a data, okay, I'll give you a data from the exercise only. Just come to exercise number 15.3. First question. Yes, Subhan?
Ma'am, in the next class, I think the chapter will be over.
I think in this class only I am trying to end your chapter. Is that clear to you? I hope the things are understood to you and you are not thinking it's going to be fast. Is everything clear?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. So your first question is saying that draw the graph.
Like this?
No. With suitable scale on the axis. Okay. And the first part is, see, in case of applications, we have different type of applications being used, but for your syllabus, you will have the questions based upon cost. Okay. If I say that 2 apples cost this much, 2 bananas cost this much, 3 grapes cost this much, you have to make the graph. The second type of question is your time and distance type. Okay, it will say that in 5 minutes a car covered this much distance, in 7 minutes a car covered this much distance, 8 minutes it covers this much distance, draw the graph. In third type, we have the simple interest type of questions. Okay, you have made a deposit, the bank told you this much is your simple interest, you have to make the graph according to it. Just tell me in this case, Soban, in case of time and distance, if a data is given that time is your 2 seconds for something, 4 seconds, 6 seconds, and we have a distance covered by in 2 seconds by a bike as 50 meters, 100 meter, 200 meter. Okay, can you tell me that which would be your dependent variable and which would be your independent variable? If you are speaking, then you are not audible. You are not audible.
I'm like 25 is the dependent value.
Which one is the dependent variable?
Ma'am, 25. This is 2 seconds.
No, just tell me that which quantity would be your independent. Either time would be independent or distance would be independent. So which one is the independent quantity, time or distance?
Ma'am, time.
Why?
And because it can take the more time.
Time is what, dependent or independent? Time is what, dependent or independent?
And it's like, yeah.
Okay. Come back to the applications. Okay. We have a first problem is of item and cost type. Item and cost. You visited a supermarket. You bought a packet of chips. You bought a packet of chocolate. You bought a bottle of cold drink. You bought one coffee. Okay. Chips cost you 50 rupees. Chocolate cost you 100 rupees. Your cold drink costs you 200 rupees and your coffee costs you 500 rupees. Is that clear to you? Just tell me that which thing among these two things, which one is dependent on what? Is chips dependent upon the cost or cost is dependent upon the item?
The cost is dependent on the item.
So there are two types of variables, means two types of things. These are what? These are taken to be as variable. Your item and your cost is taken to be as variable. What are they called? They are called as variable. We have two types of variable. One is dependent variable. Another one is independent variable. Okay. Already discussed, dependent variable will go on the y-axis. Dependent variable will go on the y-axis, independent thing will go on the x-axis. Is that clear to you? We have discussed this thing earlier also, that independent thing will go upon x-axis, dependent thing will go upon y-axis. Have we discussed it? Okay. Then talk about variables. Variables are what? It is actually the situation. One situation or one thing is your item, another thing is your cost. Okay. As you said, the cost or this 50 rupees is going to depend upon the chips or the item. Not chips are going to depend upon the cost. So in item and cost, if we talk about item, which item is the dependent?
I'm so every time X is independent and
It is a rule
Y
that X will always have a independent variable, whereas Y will always have a dependent variable. Okay. There is no change in this rule. This is a fixed rule. Is that clear to you? If for your convenience, you may write it somewhere through by which you can actually remember.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay, write X, arrow independent, Y dependent, always.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Mm.
So if
Yeah.
I take this situation, or this is your first application, item is the dependent factor or cost is the dependent thing. Which thing is dependent upon what? What is a dependent among these two and which one is independent?
Ma'am, dependent is chips
Dependent is chips.
and
Dependent is chips. So
what are
you
you saying?
dependent is which item? You are saying that chips is the dependent one.
Ma'am, like 50. No, ma'am.
So
50 rupees, I think, will be the dependent one.
you first decide. Even do not take it
Yeah,
specifically. Just tell me item would be the dependent variable, or your
ma'am.
cost will be the dependent variable.
Ma'am, the cost.
Cost is dependent variable. Okay, I'm giving you an example.
Ma'am,
You visited a supermarket. You take the chips first, or you say on the counter, take 50 rupees, whatever is coming, just give it to me. What?
yes, ma'am.
If you visit a shop, you ask a person to give you an item, or you give him money first and then tell you whatever comes in this money, just give me.
Ma'am, we kind of touch.
We what to? We ask him for the item, right? You will say visit a shop, you will ask him, give me chips or chocolate or cold drink or coffee. You will not say, take my money and whatever will come into from this, just give it to me. No. So what is dependent? Your cost is being dependent on the item which you preferred. If you are asking for chips, you will pay the cost of that chips. If you are asking for cold drink, you will pay the item cost for that cold drink. Right or wrong, Subhan?
Yes, ma'am, yes.
So item is dependent, or your cost is dependent?
Ma'am, the cost.
Cost is dependent, and item is what? Dependent or independent?
Independent. Ma'am,
Cost.
independent.
Okay, fine. So in this case, your item
Telling
is
that.
the item is independent, whereas your cost is dependent, right, Subhan?
Ma'am,
Now come to the second
independent.
application. I have already discussed the second application is of
Okay,
distance
ma'am.
and time type. Okay, distance and time. You are traveling in a train. That train covers this much time: 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, 4 hour. And in this time span, it has covered a distance of 500 kilometer, 200 kilometer, 300 kilometer, 400 kilometer. Can you just decide that which one is the dependent variable among distance and time, and which one is the independent variable among distance and time?
Ma'am, 500 kilometer is dependent
Upon.
and 1 hour is independent.
So distance is the dependent factor, dependent variable, or time is the dependent variable?
Distance. Distance.
Fine. Now
Hmm.
we have a third application. As we have discussed, what type? Deposit and simple interest type.
Ma'am,
Yes.
ma'am, your voice is lagging.
Now
Hello,
voice is.
ma'am.
Yes, yes, Sobhan, you are audible to me. Kindly speak. Yes, Sobhan, you are audible. Kindly speak.
Ma'am, you are not audible. Hello, ma'am, if I am audible.
You are audible.
Oh, you are talking now.
You may rejoin if it's audible to you. Is it audible to you, Sobhan, now? Sobhan, is it audible to you? Yes, Saban.
Yes, ma'am, you're audible.
Okay. So I have deposit and simple interest type questions. Okay. You went to a bank, you deposited 500 rupees, and they put the interest on this money as your 10% per year. Okay. Now tell me, among your deposit and simple interest, which one is the dependent factor and which is the independent one?
Ma'am, I think 500 rupees is dependent on the simple year.
You have to decide about deposit and simple interest, not from the year.
Yeah, ma'am, it's
Okay, leave that thing even. Uh, when we ever take a loan from a bank, the bank informs us that if you will take 1 lakh rupees, this much simple interest or this much interest is there upon your cash. If we increase that deposition, if we actually increase that cash which
ma'am,
we are taken
in these
from,
type of questions, you have to find the value of percent or like you have to
you
do
first tell me that you what would be the dependent and independent one. The next thing which I
ma'am,
was going to say was that if you take 2 lakh rupees from that bank, they will change their simple interest. If for 1 lakh there was 10%, there is 10% interest on 1 lakh rupees, then there is 20% interest in your 2 lakh rupees. So now decide that whether deposit is the your dependent factor or your simple interest is the dependent factor.
and simple interest is like dependent on the
How? Justify
because
your
ma'am, if
answer.
we take like
Okay, what is in your hand? What is in your hand? The money you are taking or the simple interest the bank is providing? You will decide what? You will decide simple interest or you will decide the
yeah.
deposition?
Ma'am, I will decide the deposition.
You will decide the deposition and the bank will apply the interest on that deposition. So can you now tell me that which one is the dependent variable and which one is the independent variable, Sopan?
Ma'am, 500 rupees is the dependent one. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Interest is dependent upon your money, right? What is in your hand? In your hand, we have what? We have money. I want to deposit 200 rupees in a bank account. I want to deposit 400 rupees in the bank account. I have to deposit around 1000 rupees in the bank account. Whereas the bank is responsible that how much interest is it going to apply on that money. Okay, that simple interest would be different for 200, different for 400, different for 1000, right or wrong? So the deposition is your independent variable, whereas simple interest will be your dependent variable. Is that clear to you or not?
Okay.
Yes, Suban.
Ma'am, it's clear. Ma'am, it's clear.
Okay, fine. Now just try to solve few questions.
So, okay, ma'am. Fine.
Exercise number 15.3. Question number 1. A part, in which cost of apples have been discussed, and you have to make the graph. Okay, number of apples: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cost in rupees: 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Okay, these are the cost of apples, and then the number of apples have been cost this much. You have to just draw the graph. Tell me how will you draw it? Do it quickly.
I will write.
Have you started drawing your graph?
Yeah.
Okay. Do not write the coordinates. You may write it as your homework. Okay. Just show me the graph.
Okay.
How are you drawing it?
No, I don't have to write the coordinates,
Just
right?
write it whenever you get time after the class.
Ma'am,
On which
it
axis
is a
have you took?
linear.
Okay, on which axis have you took number of apples? X or Y? Just speak it.
Ma'am, why?
Y axis will have number of apples. Firstly, keep your notebook down. Answer my question. On which axis have you
Number of.
took number of? Where is number of apples?
I'm like in the y-axis. Wrote it.
Y axis is which one?
I'm the down one.
Down one is the x axis. Okay. This is the graph, right? Down axis is the x axis. I thought you
Okay.
know that. And y axis is your the upside one. Okay.
I just forgot about that.
Okay, I just forgot even to discuss this, that the downward axis is the x-axis, whereas the standing axis is your y-axis. Okay, now tell me that where have you written number of apples?
Ma'am, the x-axis.
Why only x-axis you have chosen for number of apples?
Y minus less.
Why? Because
Okay.
as it is what?
Minus less.
It is
For the
less.
graph. Ma'am, for the graph,
Yes, I agreed that for a graph you choose the x-axis for number of apples, but why have you only chosen x-axis? You could have also chosen y-axis. What was the matter of choosing x-axis for number of apples?
no, ma'am, the cost will only be in the y-axis.
Why? Has cost paid the y-axis to be there?
No,
Then,
like it is dependent on it.
yes, I just wanted to hear that only. Which one is the dependent and which one is the independent among these two?
Ma'am, the price is dependent on the apples.
What is dependent on the factor? Apples?
Right.
What? Just speak it quickly. I have to complete this chapter right now.
Price.
Price, right? Price is dependent upon the item, right? That is why the item have been, that means your item is the independent factor. That is why you have written your number of apples on x-axis, because number of apples is the independent variable and we write the independent variable on the x-axis. Is that clear to you or not, Subhan? Kindly switch on your camera. Do it fast.
Yes, ma'am. But it's like lag.
Okay.
Wait.
Okay, so I think question
Yes,
number
ma'am. Can you
first,
see me?
yes, I can see you. Question number first
Ma'am,
part is,
again my camera is black.
no, you are fine.
Again my camera.
No, it is fine. Question
Okay,
number
ma'am.
first part has been done. Question number first B part. The question is saying that the data has been shown for distance traveled by a car. Okay. A car has traveled some distance and the data is given for
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
That is time, which is given in hours, distance, which is given in your kilometer, is 6 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9 a.m., 40 kilometer in 6 a.m., 80 kilometer in 7, 120 in 8, and 160 in 9. Let me rewrite this thing.
No.
160 in 9. Okay.
Wait, ma'am. I have to write it.
Your screen is not, your video is not visible. Write the question, solve it,
That's
and
what
then
I
check.
was saying.
At that time, it was visible, no?
Yeah.
Firstly, you solve
I
this
don't
question.
know.
After
That's
that,
why
you
I
started
asked.
doing your screen problem.
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
Just start with the graph directly, okay? See this value, see the values on the screen. Start with the graph. You have 2 minutes to make a graph.
Okay.
Do it fast.
Okay.
Do the thing fast and inform me.
Yeah, ma'am.
I hope it's done, Soban. I don't think it will take this much
No,
time.
ma'am. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Like it's like only one. I have to just do all the line in between.
Okay. When it's done, just show it to me.
Okay, ma'am. Wait.
Time will go where? X or Y? Time will go where? X or Y?
Ma'am.
Yes.
Ma'am, it's X.
Okay,
X.
fine.
I'm just writing the coordinates. Wait, ma'am.
Where will distance go? Y, right?
Yeah, ma'am. Yeah.
You don't write coordinates, Soban. Just show me your
Ma'am
notebook.
wrote the coordinates.
Okay, then show. Do something of the screen and show.
Yeah, ma'am. Oh,
Yes.
okay. Ma'am, wait, ma'am. I will show you. Down. Ma'am, can you see?
No.
Ma'am, now.
Screen is black.
What? Ma'am, I was just telling that.
So
From
it
that
is
time
black
only.
now. That was not happening at that time.
Ma'am, no. Wait, ma'am. I will try offing my video and all. Ma'am, can you hear me?
Yes. Show me your notebook. So this is a linear graph. Okay, very good. Now, Subhan, the question is having two more questions. First is that how much distance did the car cover during 7:30 a.m. to 8? Means 7:30 a.m. to 8, how much distance has the car covered?
Ma'am,
If there is no value given on the graph, what do? We take an upward line from the point from where the question is being asked. Okay. So the point has been taken from here. A straight upward
ma'am,
line.
180, ma'am.
181.
No, ma'am. When I told him 181.
Okay.
Ma'am, it's like 120 minus 100.
How? 120 minus
Ma'am, you
100
told
what? How?
7:30 a.m., right? You told
From
7:30 a.m. or
7:30 to
7 a.m.?
8. 7:30 to 8. On 7:30 to 8.
Yeah, ma'am,
Now
that's
I'm
sure.
telling you that this much
Ma'am,
distance would have been covered, right? Now you have to calculate this distance.
20.
How will you do it?
20 kilometer is the answer. I
How
think so.
much?
20, ma'am. 20
Are you
kilometers.
sure? Right.
Ma'am,
How? This point is what? This is your midpoint.
ma'am, yeah, ma'am, 100. It goes to 100.
And another question is of same type also, that the thing is also the same, that it is asking for your 100 kilometer. But firstly, you will decide that how much would be this distance. This is your homework, okay? From exercise number 15.3, you have to
What?
decide how much.
Ma'am, can you read the question? I don't have the clue.
This is your homework from
Um,
exercise number 15.3. Okay, firstly, it is asking that how much distance the car has traveled from 7:30 to 8 a.m. Whereas another question, it is asking that at what time the car has covered your 100 kilometers. Okay, the thing would be done as same. You will, if it is talking about 100 kilometer, you will draw a straight line towards your linear line
ma'am,
wherever
it's
the.
7:30.
Okay, let's see.
Ma'am, it's 7:30.
Okay, we'll
Done.
see.
Done.
Wherever the point will intersect, wherever the line will intersect with each other, that would be the point of your contact. That is, on that point, the abscissa would be your time, whereas your y would be distance. Is that clear to you, Soban?
Ma'am, I wrote 7:30 a.m.
Okay, I'll check it tomorrow. Is it correct or not? When you send me the homework. Okay.
Okay, ma'am.
Your C part is interest on deposit for a year. Okay. What is given? Deposition quantity is given, interest is given. You have to make what? You have to make a graph. On based upon that, you will have to answer three questions. Okay, there are three parts of C question which you have to just answer. I hope they are not difficult for you. We have just discussed that how will we calculate the point which is not given on the graph. Okay, Soban. Then we have question
Yes,
number
ma'am.
2. Come to the question number 2. Side of square is given. Side of square is given to be 2, 3, 3.5, 5, and 6. And your parameter, both the things are given in your unit centimeter. Okay, both the things are in centimeter. 8, 12, 14, 20, 24. Do not leave the class.